It's pretty easy if you've been in the arts game, the music game, whatever space. I think this applies to a lot of different things that are creative to kind of get a little sullen, a little frustrated at the current state of where we're at. Everything, attention spans are going down. People don't go out to live performances anymore. Just go down the list of things. They don't respect the classics. No one has a sense of history. And you just start to get frustrated and annoyed. And maybe this is an older person, a boomer thing. But I wanted to actually talk about what can TikTok tell us about doing art in 2025 and how can we use that to be more successful and instead of be frustrated actually learn something and grow in this modern age. And so I'm going to kind of just go through a few different things and then probably at the end I may list some negative things that I personally feel like sort of short form and TikTok culture kind of indicate. But let's start with some positives. The first thing I want to talk about, and this is kind of what I'm using TikTok to mean. I don't really mean TikTok specifically. I just mean the rise of short form content. This idea that the main thing I want to digest is like a short 5 to 20-second long video, really bite-sized thing that I then move on to the next thing. This happens because think about attention spans. Think about people paying attention. All I need to do is just hook people for just a very short period of time. It's actually quite a bit easier in many ways than trying to hook somebody for a long video such as this. You have to have some real buy-in to want to watch something for 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Whereas, 15 seconds, hey, I'll watch a painter paint something. I saw a guy and he takes whole lawns and he basically manicures the whole lawn for free. And it's very satisfying because you see a super messy lawn and then he fixes it. If you were going to try to sell somebody on a 20-minute video of that, that's very difficult. But you see it for 5 seconds, and you're like, ooh, that's cool. And then you keep watching. So that buy-in really gets you there. Now, what is actually positive for the arts with this? Well, you actually get more chances to sell your art, to show people what you're about. You don't have to have an album of music. You don't have to know a whole classical piece. You can just know a small part. Also, you don't actually even need to be talking about music to be successful with your art. You can lean into your personality. You can lean into the personal struggles. All of these things were possible before with long form, but in many ways, they're actually easier now with short form. The next thing I want to talk about is this idea of quantity versus quality. When you talk about short form content and the upload schedule, the negative is to think about how exhausting it is, right? You have to, I got to upload every day. I've got all this stuff that I got to do to compete, right? And to stay relevant. The other way to think about it, though, is, in the past, you would have to really make something of very high quality before you put it out. Now people are just recording themselves with their phone and putting it out. And if there's some real value and authenticity there, then that video can do really well, even though it's just a phone recording. And so you can really do this and use this to have a lot more push and more say than, say, when you're just, trying to make these longer things. Every shot you take increases your chances of hitting a home run. And so in many ways, going to a quantity model over quality is actually a valuable thing. Depending on what you're trying to do, there are definitely some things to be said about having a longer time frame of working on things. But I will say having more quantity really can help. Discoverability. Now, this one is an interesting one because it's kind of a double-edged sword. As we move to more democratic platforms, more inclusive platforms, it actually makes the pressure to actually be discovered harder, right? So let's imagine that you were ridiculously talented 20 years ago or 30 years ago. If you got in the right room, boom, discovered right there, right? You go on America's Got Talent, whatever, boom, career, set, sold. Why? Because you had those skills And the ability to be in the right place was actually quite limited because there were not as many opportunities to be in the right place. Now, fast forward to 2025, there are countless opportunities to be in the right place. Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, every day of the week, every hour of the day. But the little, set of skills, perfectly honed, exactly what people are interested in, now that's so much harder to manage because you're competing with so many more people. I honestly think it's not as bad as people think it is, but it is quite challenging. Another positive of where we are at right now. Imagine that you wanted to build a following for your art. In the past, you would have to physically set up events and have them regularly. Now, this model in many ways is actually probably just as valid now as it was in the past, but we have so many alternatives. Let's imagine you got small kids at home like I do. You can sit here and just babble on into a camera, and that can let you get your message out and talk to people and engage and allow that to be sort of its own thing. Now, the last bit that I want to talk about positive, and then I want to throw in some negatives, is this idea of sort of democratization and lowering barriers and then being able to find that community that works with you. So if you think about the progression of the internet, when the internet first formed, now I don't have to worry about the people in my specific community being interested in my art because I can reach out to a global community and maybe find the 5,000 people, the 10,000 people that are really interested in what I'm doing. This also introduces different models, right? So in the past, really the only model that was possible is finding people at the set ticket price that people buy tickets at, and then finding how much audience I need to sustain myself. Nowadays, I can really set any model I want. I could have a Substack that was $1,000 a month to get in and offer a very unique experience and get 5 people to sign up for it, and I'm pretty well set. Or I could offer something that for free online and get 50 million views on TikToks because it's so broad of an area and not charge anybody anything and be able to make money off of brand deals or whatever. So you can really do well with a shallow impact on a broad audience or a very intense impact on a small audience. Both can work really well from a monetization standpoint. Now, I've talked about all these different things that you can kind of learn from TikTok and modern things right now on how they apply to your art and how you can use them to your art. What about some negatives? I think one of the biggest negatives is the amount of turnover time. So if you think about classical music, I think classical music really is beautiful with the level of patience required to be able to be successful with it. And if you're going to be successful with classical music, you're going to need a long time horizon to practice it. And if you're thinking, oh, I have to post for these short form videos, you're never going to get there. And so a lot of times this short turnover, quantity over quality, all of that kind of takes our eye off the prize from what maybe is really fulfilling to us. And so we kind of need to do some soul searching, and then we can adapt, right? So you could be doing a longer schedule, right? You're trying to build to a classical piece, you're trying to compose something really epic, but then you can kind of take little chunks off, right? And use those little bits to be able to put something out there. I hope this has been helpful. It's been a little bit of a rant all over the place, but I think the core concept really is, instead of being frustrated with where we're at right now in time, we can use these things to help us grow our career, make a bigger impact with our art, and really make a difference in the world. Thanks for watching. I'm Robert Monroe. Check you next time.